So this story is unheard of. I've never seen anything like this before in my time covering politics, commentary, news, everything of that nature. And it has to deal with the fact of people disrupting and heckling Kamala Harris as she was on the Jimmy Kimmel live show. Now, for the most part, a lot of these late night comedy shows, at one point they used to be relevant. And since then, since more people are tuning out of television and not really consuming it, they're kind of a remnant of a bygone era. And since then, they've been transformed into these safe places where neoliberal politicians can spew their BS lies to the American people, all the while the hosts are doing dance numbers telling you to get vaccinated and telling you to celebrate because, oh no, Donald Trump did another goofy thing, because that's all what these late night comedians can do. Talk about how dangerous Trump is and then spew out neoliberal garbage because that's what they're good for. But interrupting the Jimmy Kimmel live show, I never had this on my bingo card. And Kamala Harris was called out. Now, what did you think happened? Did you think Kamala Harris heard them out? You think Jimmy Kimmel was like, okay, guys, what's going on? No, you're interrupting the flow. And the band started playing too. Why were they interrupting her? Because they were calling out the Biden-Harris administration's hypocrisy for, you guessed it, the ridiculous war that's in Gaza right now. So let's go ahead and pull up this video, folks. It is 10 out of 10, an epic video.
Stop the genocide! 15,000 children died because of you! Stop the genocide! You're murderer! 15,000 children died! Kamala Harris!
It's good to have you. You're interrupting my flow.
You're interrupting my flow, says Jimmy Kimmel. Meanwhile, he's going to cry and tell you to get vaccinated and cry again and tell you to be careful of Trump. That's what he's going to do.
All right. Anybody else? If anyone else has anything to say, this is the time.
1.9 million people!
We're going to rewind that. But remember what I've said on previous episodes. You know, when people say, oh, if I was alive during the Civil War era, I would have helped free the slaves and been part of the Underground Railroad. If I was alive during World War II in Europe, I would have been part of the resistance and helped hide the Jews from the Nazis. If I was alive then, if I was around at that point in time, I would have done this. I would have done that. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. And if you ever hear anybody talk like that, mutter under your breath or say in your mind, you're full of shit. Because no, there's no way of knowing how you would act during that time or what you would have done. But I can tell you this right now, that possibly how you would have acted is how you're acting now when people are calling out genocide. Notice the band is playing. People are telling the protesters to shut up, even though, let's face it, 36,000 dead men, women, and children in Gaza. The number's probably a lot higher. That's happening there. It's happening there, and there's nothing anyone or anything or any organization can do to really stop Netanyahu and his government. And you would expect maybe the Biden-Harris administration to step in because, oh, I don't know, last time I checked my notes, the United States is a global superpower. But no, people are quick to play the band. The band's quick to silence out the people.
All right. Anybody else? If anyone else has anything to say, this is the time.
1.9 million people!
No cameras.
Are we,
You're under arrest at the moment, so
Okay.
please let me have your ID for interfering with a live television broadcast.
I'd like to see the law that says
You don't need to see the law, you need to show me the ID.
Oh, I do.
You're
need
under
to see the
arrest.
law.
That's all you need to know. So
That's
let me
not
have your
how-
ID.
That's not
Are you a
how
police
that works.
officer?
Yes.
Are you a police
Turn
officer?
around. Turn around.
Don't touch
No,
me.
can you?
Where's,
Why can't I have my phone?
Can we see your badge?
Yes.
I am
I'd like
working
to
as
see your
security
badge.
here,
Can we
and
have a
it doesn't
real
make any
police officer?
difference. You are under arrest.
It says we're not under arrest.
Can we? Yeah.
That's fine. You can believe what you want. I don't care.
Hey, Jimmy Kimmel, why is your security so rough on these people? Something you want to say? Jimmy Kimmel. Your guy's not showing his badge. I mean, if he is a cop, he kind of has to sort of have that thing on him. You know, if you're going to do that kind of arrest, you kind of have to show it. Show that you're a cop. Cop.
Hey, stand up. Stand up.
Give me my ID.
How dare you?
Yo!
Psycho.
And it's out. You caught him out. Class traitors.
Yo, old man. Damn, look at old man go.
You caught him out. Class traitors. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Let him go! Let him out!
Let's go.
Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the river to the sea! Palestine will be free! Palestine will be free! From the sea to the river! From the sea to the river! Palestine will live forever! Palestine will live forever! Israel bombs! USA pay! Israel bombs! USA pay! How many kids?
Now, here's the thing. They actually had to refilm that entire episode because, it didn't look good for the show, you know. But by the way, I mean, again, Jimmy Kimmel's and all these late night shows are kind of recorded in the morning. You know, they don't do it late at night. It's actually kind of like early in the morning because, you know, who shows up late in the evening? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's the situation at hand. You know, when we see these shows, it's usually done in the morning or afternoon. But there was so much going on, and who would ever think that Kamala Harris would be booed at a late night TV show? I mean, this was unheard of. I mean, this has never really happened before, especially for Democratic politicians who are always protected. I mean, this is setting a tone in regards to how the American people feel about this administration. I mean, across the political spectrum, voters are despising the actions that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are enacting and implementing upon the American people and overseas. This is an administration that is losing trust every single minute of every single day. This administration cannot keep its story together. It cannot keep its facts together. It cannot present itself as an institution or an administration that deserves respect. The Biden-Harris administration has failed everybody here in the United States, and everybody is seeing it firsthand. Look at how bold it was to actually call out and challenge Kamala Harris on a neoliberal late-night TV show. Jimmy Kimmel himself. But hold on, there's a little bit more. I want to pull this video up that was done by one of the activists, so let's go ahead and check this video out.
Hey guys, we're here in Hollywood at Jimmy Kimmel Live. We just got kicked out. We're going to let Kamala Harris know that we want a permanent ceasefire now, that we do not want our tax dollars funding a genocide, that we do not want U.S.-made bombs hurting and killing civilians. We were going to let Kamala know, but apparently she doesn't want to hear us. So we're waiting outside for her to come out, and we need more bodies because here's the police, right? Secret Service, we need people here. We need to be loud, and we need to tell Kamala how we feel to her face. She needs to hear. Let none of these politicians that are funding genocide have a moment of peace. They should have an earful everywhere they go, because we are their constituents. We are the people funding their political campaigns. We are the people who put them in power. And what are they doing with that power? They are hurting the most vulnerable among us, the children, and we cannot let that happen. All right, so if you want a permanent ceasefire now and you don't want your tax dollars to fund a genocide, pull up to Hollywood Boulevard. Jimmy Kimmel Live, Kamala Harris is here, and we are going to protest for a free Palestine and for a permanent ceasefire now.
So it's fascinating. And shout out again to Jose Vega. Maybe he really did start a trend. Who knows? Who knows? Perhaps people will look back at this era and point at, well, how did people get so angry at politicians? Well, maybe it's because the American people and average sovereign citizens, people who are just trying to live their best lives as best as they could, just got tired of all the neoliberal crap that our jagoff Democratic lawmakers and jagoff Republican lawmakers are putting upon the American people. See, what's fascinating about this protest, and these that not one, but numerous other people interrupting Jimmy Kimmel's interview with Kamala Harris, is that late night TV shows are safe spaces. These politicians need to realize that people are tired of their BS. I mean, no one is excited for the sequel that we've all been dreading, World War III. I mean, we already see that this administration doesn't really give a damn. They're already ramping up further military actions across the world. And for what? To stir up trouble with China, Russia, who else? Meanwhile, there is an ongoing human crisis, a humanitarian crisis, war crimes happening in Gaza, and this administration is not lifting a finger. And yet, how many times has this administration assured us that, oh, wait, don't worry, we don't want conflict, we don't want war? Well, you sure aren't acting like it. So, yes, Kamala Harris deserves to be criticized and called out. Joe Biden deserves to be criticized and called out. All of these politicians deserve to be criticized and called out because they're failing the people. I'm actually really excited in regards to how the rest of this election cycle will play out, because I never once would ever imagine that a politician would be heckled numerous times during a live recording, or use it at a recording, from a late night TV show. I mean, that is a safe space beyond safe spaces. I mean, these late night comedians were all on board in 2020 telling us to get vaccinated and, oh, we got to stop Trump because Trump's a very, 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 very bad man. But what exactly were Kamala and Jimmy Kimmel talking about? I mean, that's important to know. I mean, let's hear about it. What do you think they were talking about? You think they were talking about the, hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Type 1 for Kit, they were talking about the economy. Type 2, they were talking about ending the wars in Gaza and Ukraine. Type 3, they're talking about bringing back integrity into Washington, D.C. and ending the corruption that had crippled it. Type 4, they were talking about Donald Trump. I wonder how many 4s we'll get in the chat. I wonder. It's not like I'm rigging the election or anything like that. But, oh, whoa! Kamala Harris tells Jimmy Kimmel that Donald Trump's conviction was about accountability. The reality is cheaters just don't like getting caught. You don't say. Oh, my God. Wow. So let's talk about this. Hey, look, there they are. Oh, look at them smiling and laughing. Look at them together, right? Kamala Harris on Jimmy Kimmel Live. Vice President Kamala Harris had some biting words about Donald Trump on Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight, making a point to comment on his recent New York felony conviction on 34 counts, all of which are the same, of falsifying business records. Like President Joe Biden, Harris has started to chime in on the state court case after the administration and the campaign had said little as the 6-week trial played out. Because, you know, they're just so happy, like, yay, we finally got Trump, even though he's still running. What are you going to do to stop him? I mean, that's what you, Democrats, you keep on acting like Wile E. Coyote, you know, running into the wall, trying to go after the road runner. Watch, it's going to be hilarious to see if Trump does win, It's going to be hilarious to see all these late night comedians kind of do like a very serious monologue, like, okay, this is it. This is the end of America. This is it. I can't believe that this is happening. Watch. Pretend to be surprised when it happens, because they're going to be like, there's something wrong in this country. There's a lot of racism here. There's so much racism everywhere. In studio in Hollywood, may it burn down Hollywood, burn down Hollywood. Harris told Kimmel a jury of 12 people, peers over the course of 6 weeks, deliberated on the evidence and facts and unanimously determined guilt on 34 felony counts. Stuttered there. There was a defense attorney who actively participated in selecting that jury, who actively made decisions about witnesses to call, witnesses to cross-examine, and the jury made the decision. And I think the reality is cheaters don't like getting caught and being held accountable. Sort of like Democratic politicians too, right? The reality is, let's just fast forward again to November. I think the American people want to know there is a president who's accountable to the people. Accountable to the people. Hang on. So we're going to play a game. The Biden-Harris administration told railroad union workers to get back to work, even though they were about to go on strike. The Biden-Harris administration didn't do anything about Medicare for all or student debt forgiveness. The Biden-Harris administration didn't do anything about the kids in cages. Hell, the border crisis has gotten out of control under the Biden-Harris administration, and the sanctuary cities cannot handle or hold all the migrants flying into the sanctuary cities. The Biden-Harris administration has turned a blind eye to Congress. That's right, our fantastic Democratic and Republican lawmakers who are doing insider trading. Check out Unusual Whales on Twitter, and you'll find out what your fantastic representative or U.S. senator is doing on the side. They care about the donors. They don't care about you, the voters. I mean, this is the truth. The Biden-Harris administration is leading us into unnecessary, brutal, and horrific wars. This administration hasn't done anything to deal with the ongoing threat of our entire economy collapsing. Yeah, well done. Well done. Yeah. Is this administration being held accountable? No. But you would expect corporate media to say something about it, but no, they're not, because they're forming a shield wall. Since his conviction last week, Trump has railed against the justice system and as rigged, with he and some allies on Capitol Hill blaming Joe Biden for the former president's prosecution. In fact, Trump was convicted in New York State court and not prosecuted by the federal Justice Department. The sit-down gave Harris a friendly venue to talk about signature issues of the re-election campaign, particular issues like abortion, which died under the Biden-Harris administration. Remember that? Hey, pink pussy hats, where y'all at? I remember you guys saying that if this happened under Trump, you guys would be doing protest ho fests that would last on for days, and I don't see you fucks anywhere. Kimmel keyed her up on some key issues while interspersing the interview with occasional humor. Oh, yeah, interspersing the interview with occasional humor. Sorry about that. As they were talking about the move toward cannabis legalization, he asked if she was aware of a strain named after her, Kamala Kush. Seriously, I did not know that. Ah, ha, 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 ha. You mean they didn't send you any, Kimmel said? That's outrageous, because remember, Kamala's all in favor of the cannabis. She likes to smoke and listen to Tupac. Remember that? Hell, remember when she was that little girl on the bus? Remember that little back and forth that she had with Joe Biden? I remember that. Kimmel, like his CBS rival, Stephen Colbert, is taking part in the Biden-Harris campaign event. Really? The ABC late-night host is scheduled to take part in the Los Angeles campaign fundraiser next week when he moderates a panel with the president and former President Barack Obama. Kimmel has also been outspoken on major issues like health care, as he criticized Republican efforts to repeal the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, also known as Romney Care, which was an idea that came out of the Heritage Foundation shortly after Trump took office in 2017. During the interview, Harris was sharp and pointed particularly in talking about Trump, because that's all we could talk about. That was especially true when he and Harris talked about Trump's claim that Biden has weaponized the Justice Department. Whatever he does, it's classic projection, and he will say, "You're doing it," when he's doing everything and intends to do it, Kimmel said. If President Biden has weaponized the justice system, why doesn't he get his son out of the trial? Hunter is currently on trial. Couldn't he just snap his weaponized fingers and get him out of that? You don't say. Harris said, to your point, the former president is a hypocrite and will apply one set of standards to himself and another to others, just like how Joe Biden does. Kimmel responded, he was born a hypocrite. I mean, he puts the hippo in hypocrites. Oh, clever. Ha, ha, ha. Hey, everybody, be sure to laugh right now. I better see laughing emojis right now because that's supposed to be a joke. Perhaps the most surprising part of the interview was when Kimmel asked Harris, have you ever met Donald Trump? No, she answered. Wow, that is something else. Talk about a riveting interview. Jesus Christ, my cock fell off. So what can we take away from this? First of all, politicians, people aren't tolerating your BS. You know, and very few outlets are actually talking about how Kamala was heckled at Jimmy Kimmel's show. You know, and again, I played the video. You saw it. It's about 3 minutes and 20 seconds long about, again, you see protesters calling out Kamala Harris, the vice president, for the fact that there's an ongoing genocide in Gaza. And any attempt by the Biden-Harris administration to bring peace, the call for a ceasefire, has been given a middle finger by Netanyahu. And don't worry, folks. Don't worry, folks. This administration has made it very clear that they're still going to send arms and more weapons to Israel. Why do I say that? Well, because look, folks, I want to pull up this video here. Shout out to the Gray Zone. The Pentagon refuses to tell the Gray Zone whether Israel will use tanks in its invasion of Rafah after the DoD announced a new shipment of $700 million in tank munitions, a transfer that contradicts Biden's claim of a pause of offensive military aid. Don't believe me? Oh, check out this wonderful video.
Thanks, Sabrina. So last week to CNN, President Biden said that he made it clear that if the Israeli government goes into Rafah, I will not be supplying weapons that have been used historically to deal with cities. Of course, we've seen the Israelis use tanks in urban centers throughout this war. And in the latest arms package, which is now on its way, expected to be approved, and was after Biden issued that statement, is $700 million in tank ammunition. So this statement appears to be false. Is it the Pentagon's assessment that tanks will not be used in the invasion of Rafah?
I think you're significantly oversimplifying things. So what I would tell you to do is to do a little homework on the pack.
Oh, thank you. You're telling us to do homework. Thank you. Thank you. You're doing such a fantastic job. Without you, oh my goodness, where would we be at? But, you know, it is rather hypocritical because, you know, didn't this administration say they were going to put a pause in sending weapons and other shipments of material to Israel? Am I wrong on that? Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. Let's have democracy in the chat. Type 5-4 Kit. There is a pause. Stop asking questions, you awful man. Type 6. No, they did say that they were going to put a pause, but what do you expect? This administration is filled with hypocrites, for they themselves also put hippo in hypocrites. See what I did there? See what I did there? I made a funny joke. You're supposed to laugh, or is it at? Where's the laugh track at?
Package that was approved, and that this is long-term sales that will be going to Israel, and the State Department would have more for you on that. In terms of operating within an urban area, the secretary, the president have been very clear that these type of high payload bombs, the 2,000-pound bombs, it's not necessary to be used in an urban area like Rafah. We are still, and I want to be very clear, we are still providing Israel the means to defend itself against its fight against Hamas. And you are still seeing shipments of weapon systems going to Israel, and will continue to go through. That is a commitment this president has made. But when it comes to that one shipment is paused. Really.
Okay, but in the shipment that is not paused is $700 million in tank munitions. And are you saying that, I can read you the Biden quote again, I just read it to you.
You don't have to.
Okay, but he said.
I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities, to deal with that problem.
We're not going to supply weapons that have been historically,
you don't have to read it to me.
historically used in cities. So are you saying tanks haven't been used in cities in Gaza?
I would direct you to the State Department for more on the sales. That has to do with.
Yeah, the State Department, which is none other directed by Count Chocula himself. Ay. This administration is not filled with serious people.
Sales to Israel. I just don't have that in front of me.
Okay, so we are providing.
I'm going to move on to the next question.
Okay.
Thank you, Sabrina. My question is on China.
So in other words, stop asking serious questions, all right? I don't want to answer you people. What do you mean, you people? So what can we take away from this? Politicians, the day of people giving you respect and glory, and more importantly, the space in which you guys can spew out your shite, is long since evaporating. Gone are the days where people looked at you for leadership, because how can we look at our leaders with respect when all of you just only care about your career 2 years, 4 years, 6 years down the road? How can any of us look at you or your fantastic colleagues in Washington, D.C. with respect when all of you are doing insider trading? And also, folks, let this be a reminder. Never expect much from late night comedians and those talk shows that they always like to produce, because all what they are just platforms for these politicians to safely speak and not be challenged. But this is a sign of more to come. May these politicians realize that their days of being holier than thou and living in the ivory tower has long since passed, and I hope to see more of it. But it is interesting how few media outlets are talking about Kamala being heckled. This is why we need independent media, because these politicians, all of them, no matter where they stand politically, deserve to be criticized and called out, because they are the servants, we are the masters. They work for us, not the other way around. And if they keep on being screw-ups at their jobs, well, then guess what? We vote them out. 2024, I asked for it to be a funny, interesting election cycle, and it's pretty much delivering. Stay tuned to Hard Lens Media.